Hey, hi, and hello, and welcome back to 12 to 60 Comics. Today I'm going to follow up on the video I did about selling some comics through a Facebook auction on a Facebook comic collecting group. So I'm going to talk today about the sort of back half of the process, which is how you get paid and how you ship the books. So I'm going to talk about invoicing through PayPal. I'm going to kind of do a walkthrough of that. Then I'm going to talk about how I pack comics, not so much with the Gemini mailers, which I use for small orders, but using bigger boxes and how I make sure the comics are secure, and then about how to sort of get a discount shipping and buy a label and all that business. It's sort of mundane, but these are the nitpicky things that I think we all want to know and learn as we go through this process of figuring out how to most effectively sell our comics, our comic collections, or reselling, or actually this is applicable to pretty much selling anything through sort of like a Facebook auction. So stay tuned. First, I want to walk you through the process of getting paid. So when the Facebook auction concludes, you have all of the people who have been identified as, the top bidders. If you're doing a claim sale or a buy it now sale, it's pretty much the same thing. You just go through all your listings and you make a record of who bought which comics and for how much. Then you, hopefully those people, and this is not entirely, for me, I think 2 people did this, but basically you get those people to use Facebook Messenger and send you their PayPal information. If they haven't already done that during the sale, first thing you want to do after the sale is send them a message. Just click on their face in the sale on the comment in Facebook, and just go in and send them a message asking them to send you their PayPal information. So once you have that, you can go into PayPal and create an invoice. And this was surprisingly easy. Let me show you. So it's really simple to just create an invoice on PayPal. You just open up your screen. Again, I'm not signed up. I don't have a business account. It's just my regular account. And you hit create an invoice and it takes you to a new screen. So when you click over here, you will see an automatic invoice comes up. This is sort of a template that they just provide for you. You type in the customer name or email, which you've gotten from the person who bid on your auction. What I found was to type in their full name, and then when you do that, it will create a new customer. And so you can have like a customer list. Then you go down here, and if you're doing multiple auction, items of the same thing. But what I did was I just went in here, put in the name of the comic and then the price that the person was paying, put that in there, and then, would keep adding and adding and adding until I had all of the items in there. I'd go over here and the subtotal would pop up here, obviously. Then I would go over here, I'd add in my flat rate shipping of $10 or $13 or whatever it was based on how many comics they got. Then it immediately totaled everything up for me. I went down here and I put in some notes, just to thank you for your purchase kind of a thing. And then down here, I went in and I put in my terms and conditions for, when I wanted them to pay me and how I wanted them to pay me and that kind of thing. And it was like I'm saying, this is just super simple to create a very quick invoice. And this is what that invoice looks like when you print it out. Obviously, I redacted my information and the customer's information, but basically it pops up. It keeps a running consecutive numbering system for your invoices, the invoice date, your internal reference number, the due date, which for me was basically within 48 hours. Although it just popped it up as sort of like due upon receipt. It gives the total right at the top of how much is due. Then it just lists the different items that the person bought, the price, the amount, the shipping, and then their total. Here's my notes. Thanks so much for your purchase. And then please pay within 48 hours of receipt. And then my promise that I will ship within 1 business day of receiving payment. In the future, I'm going to make that 2 business days just because it got to be a little bit of a push. You will note that over here on the total, there is no fee that is charged to the customer. There isn't a PayPal fee, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. But the PayPal fee is not charged to the customer. It is charged to the seller, me. So I'm okay with that. And but that is what the invoice looks like. You can get a QR code. You can send them a QR code. You can copy a link to this and just, messenger it to them if you need to for some reason. But I thought this was a really easy way to create invoices. I'm really grateful for it. So it's just like that. Perfectly simple, very straightforward. The system, it's not quite as automated as eBay, but it's pretty close. And you'll see that there are some real benefits to using the PayPal versus eBay, primarily around the fees. You do still have to pay a fee with PayPal. When you send out the invoice, there's the total that the buyer is going to pay you, right? So they just see the total. But what actually comes back to you is that total minus the Facebook fee, which I believe is 2.99% plus a single transaction fee of 49 cents. Compare that to the base eBay fee of 13.25% plus a 40-cent transaction fee. So obviously, the fees are a little bit significantly better. In eBay, they are still basing the fee on the total price of the items as well as the shipping that you charge. So it's going to be on that total, not just on the price of the items. But still, it's a significantly lower fee than what you're paying through eBay. So I guess before I talk about shipping comics, the one thing I would say is that there's a little bit more heavy lifting when you're doing this to getting paid. I would say of the buyers that I had through the auction, most of them were really quick about paying. I sent the invoice. Within a day or two, I got the payment. And then, once I had that, then I had their shipping address and I could create the labels. I could pack the comics and get them out. But there were a couple of people, and I'm sure I've done this before too, who didn't respond quickly. I'm not always on top of looking at my messages, so maybe, a day or two, I would just send a little nudge.
Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
I have to admit there were a couple of errors on my part in entering names, so I had to resend some invoices. Those were on me. But there was only one person out of, I think, 14 who I never heard from. And so that's always the bummer, is there were a couple of people I had to bug a couple of times. I had to nudge. The PayPal invoicing system does have a reminder that they send, which goes to that person's email, the email that's connected to their PayPal account. So I was, sort of reminding them through the PayPal system, but then also just reaching out to them directly through the Facebook Messenger system. And there was only one person. This person, I'm not going to dox them online by telling you their names, but there's only one person who has not responded to the invoice at all. Who knows what's going on with them? Maybe they're on vacation. So I've basically reached out to one of the admins on the Facebook page, and they're really great. They're reaching out to that buyer to see, what's going on and to encourage them to pay me. So there is a little bit of support. I think it's gonna depend on what group you're going with. Again, I went with a comic book group to sell my comics, and they have been excellent. The admins and moderators there are on top of things, very responsive. I feel really supported by them, so I think that's really great. And if these people don't end up paying me, I'll just, cancel the sale and put these in the pile to put in my next auction. So I'm not that bummed about it. So I want to take a minute and thank everybody who has subscribed. So here's a little something Marlowe's put together. Okay, so once I get the payment from the bidder, I get a notification from PayPal. Very simple. It goes into my holding account on PayPal, and then when I have enough money in there, I just transfer it to my bank account. Easy peasy. But once I have gotten paid, then I immediately go and I begin to prepare the package for shipping. Now, I use 3 different size boxes. I use the sort of what I think is the gold standard for shipping comics, which is the famous, pardon my terrible production values here, the famous Gemini mailer. I use this to ship books between, like, I usually, because I do bags and boards with all my books, and I usually like to put in some protective sheets of cardboard, I use this to ship between 1 to 8 books. That's what I use the Gemini mailer for. There are many videos online for how to ship things using a Gemini mailer. If you want to see a video from me on that, please let me know, and maybe I'll do a short on that someday. The other thing that I use, now some people use priority shipping boxes, which I don't feel are really kind of the right size. So what I use, and I haven't seen many people doing this, when I have more books than the 1 to 8 books, is I ordered a bunch of these boxes. These are 12 by 9 by 4, and I use these to ship. So basically they're 4 inches tall. They shape nicely around comics with a little bit of room on the edges, but not too much room. And I use this, I think, for when I have like 9 to say 25 comics. And then I have these boxes, which are just slightly bigger, 12 by 9 by 6. And those hold anywhere from like 26 to 50 comics. Again, bagged and boarded. When I ship in these, and I'll show you in a minute, I put the comics, I make them secure in like bubble wrap and things like that. These I ordered from Uline. And I want to say, I wish I could tell you guys this, they were like 75 cents or 85 cents a piece. So actually a little bit cheaper than the specialty Gemini mailers, but I find these work really well. I went ahead and got the ones that have the edge crush test. So they're a little bit sturdier than some of the boxes that you'll see on there. But again, I highly recommend these. They're easy to use. And, well, why don't I just show you? Here's how I pack one. Okay, so once I have it packed, then all I have to do is go in and prepare the label. Now, I was going to try Pirate Shipping, which is a website that provides discounted prices for shipping via USPS or UPS, or I think even FedEx. And their rates are pretty good. But what I didn't realize until I was sitting down doing this is that once you have received payment from the bidder or the buyer through PayPal, then it automatically creates an opportunity for you to buy a label through them. And the handy part about that is that it is going to include your buyer's address, like the address that they have with PayPal. And that's really convenient. And PayPal also has a pretty significant discount, at least through the United States Postal Service, has a pretty good discount on the prices. I think pretty equivalent to the price you get through eBay, which I think kind of makes sense because I think PayPal is owned by eBay, maybe. But it was slightly more expensive. I think the pirate shipping had a slightly better discount. But I figured I'm just going to do this through PayPal, and that way I know I'm shipping to the right address because it's the address the buyer's given, and I can track it. It provides tracking that's connected with the invoice. So I thought, for that tiny smidge of a difference in the cost of shipping, that it would probably be convenient for me to just use the eBay label. Sorry about that. That it would be just as easy for me to use the PayPal, buy the label through PayPal, and then everything would be all in one place. So that's what I did. It's pretty simple to do. You just, pull up the label, you enter the custom, with me, it's going to be custom packaging. Then I put in the weight. I have a little scale next to my label printer. You punch in the weight, the dimensions of the box. You choose the service. I always go with Ground Advantage through the U.S. Postal Service. That seems to work well for me. Things get delivered within 2 to 5 days. And then I just print it out on this little thermal printer and slap it on there. And I am good to go. And then I just, get a stack of them and take them on down to the post office. And that's pretty much it. Like that took, I will say this, like the packing and all of that stuff took a little bit longer than I thought. One of the things that I said at the end of and you'll see on the invoice thing of the term was like, if they paid me within 48 hours, then I would ship the comics within 1 business day. And I think that was a little ambitious on my side. I think in the future, I'm going to say that I'll ship within 2 business days because that'll give me a little bit more time to do the packing, to do all of the paperwork, and just be a little easier on myself. But other than that, I think with, the aside of one person who didn't pay.
Don't make a fool out of me, man. Don't make a fool out of me. I want my money.
I'm going to just have to cancel their sale, I guess. And it wasn't a tremendous amount of money, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to say overall, doing an auction through Facebook, through this particular comic book group, which is really dedicated to these kinds of auctions and claim sales and has a really active membership, I think was a really, really good, I think it was really successful. And I think I'm going to start I'm not going to abandon eBay. I think there's certain things that will sell well on eBay. And I think there are things that will sell well on Facebook. And I think this is just another avenue to sell my beloved comic book collection. So I hope this has been helpful. Hopefully, maybe. If you have any comments, please get in the comments below and let me know what you think. If there's anything that I could do differently or better, I would love to hear about it. And I guess until next time, take care.